Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Crime and Justice Report on Pinnacle TV. My name is Glory Irubo, and today we are discussing a trending issue, and with me in the studio to do justice to this issue is no other but the very eloquent Mr. Promise Oyibe.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So tell us briefly about yourself.
My name is Promise Oyibe. I'm a lawyer. I practice in Benin, and I work with the Daily Benin Chamber in Benin.
Okay, was it sometime this week? Yes, early this week. Reality TV star Dorothy Bacho on August 23rd called out the Economic, Financial and Crime Commission (EFCC) for breaking into her apartment in the early hours of the morning, precisely around 5 a.m., while searching for suspected internet fraudster. In the video released by the reality TV star, we saw the EFCC operatives trying to snatch her sister's phone while on Instagram Live. So now, Mr. Promise, I want to know, first of all, what is the role of EFCC?
Thank you very much. Like we all know, the EFCC, they have a responsibility to investigate financial crime. So their role will involve investigation of financial crime. And if upon their investigation, at the conclusion of their investigation, they find out that a person has a case, they will not charge the person to court. So that role basically involves financial crime, internet fraudster, and so on and so forth.
You agree with me that prior to this time, it was not solely the aim of the EFCC to look into internet fraud. We have the likes of SARS who, because of their, should I call their activities, which Nigerians saw as a nuisance to their persons, they had to end SARS.
Yeah.
So then how come all of a sudden it seems that the EFCC have taken over the role of SARS?
No. I think that's a big misconception on the part of members of the public. I feel that the SARS team is a special anti-robbery unit that specifically deals with armed robbery. It has ordinarily they could because the law enforcement agencies basically they ought to act as one. So if the police arrest someone and upon their investigation realize that the person has committed offense that relates to fraud and internet-related crime, they ought to hand over the person to EFCC. So from the inception, it has always been the responsibility of EFCC to investigate and investigate crimes that relates to to finances and internet fraudsters and the likes.
The other question I would like to ask you is, does the EFCC has the legal backing to act in such manner? But before you answer that question, I want to read out the tweet that the reality TV star actually put up there on social media. She said, "I feel like my head is about to explode. I'm numb. At 4:45 a.m. I heard a loud sound and voices followed after. I rushed out almost naked to see 5 fully armed official EFCC men in my living room, and one of them saying, 'Oh, now that big brother baby this.' In my confused state, I'm trying to understand what in the hell was going on. Why did they break down my door? Then one of them said they were looking for someone who ran into my estate and I should lock my door, stay indoors and not say a word. I'm shaking at this point and so confused because how exactly is this even okay?" So she doesn't see this what the EFCC did as okay. So that's what I'm asking you. What is the legal backing?
I first of all I want to sympathize with the superstar, but issues like these are issues that we would have to analyze objectively, regardless of who is involved. The Section 6 Sub 1 of the EFCC Act empowers them to investigate crimes that relates to advance fee fraud, banking, and other financial crime. And so, at the point of investigation, if they feel that a particular person in a particular location is a suspect and has committed an offense or is likely to commit an offense, they have the power and the backing of the law to arrest. And if that's what they have done, regardless of how she might feel, regardless of time or anything she's feeling, I think the EFCC, they have acted within the ambit of the law.
Now let me read the EFCC what they said. The EFCC, in their defense, they said they were on a search warrant at a block of flats located in the Lekki area of Lagos, during which 9 internet fraud suspects were arrested, identified themselves. They said that when they got to the apartment of Dorothy, that they identified themselves as EFCC, as men of the EFCC, and that they actually presented to them that they were on a search warrant. Then they went ahead to say that law-abiding citizens have no reason to refuse the execution of a validly obtained search warrant. Then they also went, I think that was it. So, but what I'm looking at now is, do they have the right to break her door when she refused?
I think it's a quite. I think members of the public needs to be well enlightened about powers of not just the EFCC, because whatever the police can do, the EFCC, whatever power they have, the EFCC also have the power, just that it's restricted to financial crime and the rest of them. If the EFCC had said, like in this case, that they have a search warrant, they have the right to go to your apartment. They have the right to introduce themselves. They'll tell you what they are there to do. They politely, in most cases, like they are saying, that they introduced themselves, they presented themselves to the people or people living in that place, and the people refused. It's possible that maybe you have something to hide, you do not want them to come to your apartment, you shut your door. At that moment, they have the power to break into your house. They have the power to gain access to your house.
Obviously, with what the statement the officials released, they couldn't find anything in the particular flats, like Dorothy's room. Should I use room? But they eventually found, according to them, 9 suspected internet fraudsters in the estate.
If the search warrant covers that place, that estate, covers the buildings there, including the Superstars building, the Dorothy's building, it doesn't matter whether they found anything. That's the more reason why you should open your door. It's just like when the police obtain a search warrant and they ask you, I want to search you, and because you have nothing to hide, you allow them to search you. The question is, do they have a search warrant? The answer is yes. So they present themselves to you. Why didn't you open your door? If Dorothy's story was that I opened my door and they broke my door, of course, that would be ridiculous. Then you'll be saying that the EFCC has acted outside the ambit of the law. But if as at the time they came, because they had to search. If as at the time they came to the building and they introduced themselves and they refused to allow them access to the building to conduct their search, EFCC has the power, have the right to go into the apartment one way or another to search the building.
Okay. I think your words and your statement goes with that of the EFCC, because they said in their concluding paragraph, they said law-abiding citizens have no reason to refuse the execution of a validly obtained search warrant.
Very well. I think sometimes it's quite sad that sometimes I know that some of the law enforcement agencies, including EFCC, have their own issues. Sometimes they could be very, very unruly, very lawless. No, but sometimes they could. But also, we want to look at the other side. Because she's a social media influencer, she can come and say, oh, this is what he did. And of course, people are already angry with this.
Yes. In their defense, they actually said, I didn't mention it, that she was actually not around when they came in.
Exactly.
That they used the word internet fraudsters.
Exactly. So that's the
Like,
point. Because she's angry. Why did they come to the house? But I have a search warrant. Allow me execute the search warrant. So that means at the point I knock, who is here? You ought to open the door. If you do not open the door,
is it not odd 5 a.m. I'll be 5:45 a.m. in the morning?
the idea is, just think about it. Sometimes it's just like when you have a warrant to arrest. The idea is you arrest the person. So I don't think if I have anything evil, or I know that the police are looking for me, I would want to be in my house at a particular time. So if they feel at that particular time is the best time they can carry out their investigation, and they'll not just carry out their investigation, they'll be able to meet the people unprepared, so as to enable them get the
best results.
The results or whatever they have against these persons, they can do it at any time.
Okay, one last thing I want to say before we actually call this is it a quit or what? Wherever. Before we end this session. But in recent development we've seen men of people pretending to be security agencies with false ID cards and stuff like that. So you can't really blame her
for doing it. I understand. I also share that
because we've seen military men with the rise in insecurity in the country. You've seen people dressed in military uniform at checkpoints, at roadblocks, claiming to be military men, which they obviously are not. So for them coming to her house, I can actually relate to her feeling. Because anything is possible in this country.
Very well. I agree with you, but we also want to look at yes, I will have to concede to a very large extent that people could use this as a medium to perpetrate crime, could use this as a medium to carry out different activities. But for now, what we should be looking for is a solution to the problem, but not rule out the fact that the EFCC have the power to do this. Take for instance, if at the point of arrest, you could politely ask, "Can you show me your IDs?" Yes. Or if she even said that at the point of the arrest, you ask them to show you their warrant, and they did, and you go through it and it's valid, then you open the door for them. But to say that, because if you want to go by this, that means we will not be able to do anything again in this country. The police will not be able to do anything. These military men will not be able to do anything. Nobody will be able to do anything. So I would say that it calls for us to look for ways to ensure, just that we have not gotten to that stage where the names of this person can be searched online and you can confirm whether these people are real officials or not. That's why most times I think we have to introduce them having a number, like the police make you have a number you can use to trace them, and you ensure that they wear their names are tagged on their uniforms. But that's still not enough reason why we should now say that the celebrity should not grant access.
If you have been in touch with recent development, you will understand that persons have been lamenting over the excesses of the EFCC, just like they were lamenting and talking about the havoc that the now disbanded SARS caused people and a lot of discomfort and harassment. I think the masses feel the EFCC is heading towards that direction. What do you have to say about that?
I would not completely agree, and my reason is simple. That sometimes the masses, not just the masses, when you say masses, we want to say everybody's angry. Yeah, but we're also looking at the fact that most persons who are even complaining are people who are involved in some of these crimes. That's one possibility.
I don't agree.
No. That's one possibility. On the other hand, the EFCC has a board. They have a commission. They are under they have a supervisory ministry. So if I have a gross against any of them, I could submit a petition. I could submit a complaint. Rather than, because what I feel we do a lot in the country, which is
see, don't look as if this submitting a petition, I don't think it amounts to anything in this country. It doesn't hold water.
Okay, I agree with you. So are we in any way?
Rather than use it to haunt you.
No, that's not even true. That's not true, because we've I personally have seen cases where people submit petitions, not against EFCC, but against several law enforcement agencies, and you get judgment. For instance, recently we started seeing that EFCC, you would feel that you have committed a crime, they would just go to your bank and freeze your account. But people took them to court, and they got judgment against them that you must get a valid order of court before you freeze anybody's account. But the thing is that, are we going to say that they should scrap EFCC again? No, as a solution. As a solution. So what I would rather say is, we will look for a way to curb these excesses, but at the same time, we should not now gradually come to a point where we begin to lose faith in all of our law enforcement agencies. Are they helping us? We're also looking at the fact that the rate at which internet fraudsters, financial crime, these crimes are on the increase in our country. And we're looking at the fact that the EFCC is the only person that has the power to curb some of these things.
I'm not speaking of my own opinion. I'm speaking of some of the public opinions I've heard over time in bosses, public functions and events. A lot of persons are like, EFCC, the reason why the security agencies have not been able to fight the internet fraudsters are because they themselves are involved in such, because of the bribe. You know, there's this former EFCC boss, is it Bauer or something?
Yeah, Bauer.
An EFCC boss that was accused of corruption and embezzlement or something like that. I don't know. I stand to be corrected though.
Yeah.
So you don't feel we should rely on these people who have over the time not come out clean. They themselves.
I feel that, first of all, part of the training we receive as lawyers is not to act based on speculations. So if you believe that most of them are involved, then the next question we'll ask, where are your proofs?
I don't want to say something, but we heard of this super cop.
No.
It's trended. This super cop that was indicted into the.
Get something, Glory. Nobody's dismissing that fact. But look at it this way: the fact that a set of persons, a group of persons, are corrupt, does not automatically translate to the fact that the agency is corrupt. So we would try our best to see how, for instance, the case you just mentioned, the Super Cup case, when the allegation came out, the first thing the police did was to suspend him. So he's no bigger than the institution. So regardless of how...
Since then, now it's getting to a month. What evidence have they presented to the members of the public?
You don't do investigations that way. No, you don't do investigations that way. You don't come out tomorrow and you say investigation is done.
If we should discuss the excesses of the security agencies, I'm not sure we're going to leave this place.
Yeah, so
one last word for the audience.
I feel that it's a two-way thing. Why we... Personally, I have a bias, and I feel that sometimes celebrities who are celebrities are always very quick to want to paint or antagonize, or they actually feel that they are in a class of their own.
Weird stars.
They actually feel that they are in a class of their own. For instance, if we just relied on this lady's story, it will appear that EFCC never had a search warrant. It will even appear like they just had no reason to come to the house. But at least the EFCC came out and looked at it. So I feel that that's one part. On the other part, the EFCC has a responsibility to ensure that their members are well trained at all times, to remain professionals and maintain high level of professionalism as they carry out their responsibility.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that's all we can take on today's episode of Crime and Justice Report on Pinnacle TV. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe to this channel. Bye.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
For more exciting, educative, and entertaining programs such as Law and